What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Chicken Bucket Boys. As always, I'm your host, Brian DeGennaro. Alongside me, from the shores of Santorini himself, it's Paraskevas Xenophontos. How you doing, Para?
I'm good, man. How about you?
It's
Happy
pretty
Labor
good,
Day
pretty
to
good.
everybody. We got
Happy Labor Day.
we got the Blue Jays in the next couple of games.
Can't wait.
Actually,
It's going to be
with the way
great.
this,
It's going to be
for
great.
those of you who actually think these games don't matter, these games do matter because the Yankees are tied for this. The Yankees and the Astros, surprisingly, are the top two teams in the wild card spots for the upcoming playoffs. So, but realistically, I don't see this team making the playoffs, especially with the way pitching has been handled, the management has been handled, and hitting especially. I don't see them making the playoffs. So,
Yeah, it's going to be a tight race. I guess we'll have to see what
but
happens.
talking about playoffs, this week's topic of discussion is something me and Brian came up with after last week's show. So, Brian, why don't you tell our viewers what this debate is going to be about today?
Sure. So MLB doesn't really have a plan yet in place for the playoffs. We have the format. We know what it's going to be. We know how many teams are going to be in and all that. But we don't know if the games are going to be played in home stadiums or in a bubble format. So I think we're going to talk a little bit today about whether or not we think the bubble format is good for playoffs, or if we think it should be in home stadiums. So, Para, why don't you start us off?
Well, I'll just say this.
Oh,
Regardless, I don't think it's going to be beneficial for either the teams or the players because if Rob Manfred had a plan, he had 3 months to come up with a plan on how he wanted to handle the season coming forward. So if you wanted to do a bubble situation, you honestly should have done it from the beginning because you had players and teams traveling left and right for the East. They were going up to Buffalo, down to Tampa or Miami, and then everything was associated. But before you even do a bubble, you're gonna have to get an approval from the Players Association. And honestly, guys are not gonna be for it. One of those guys is Aaron Judge, a guy we haven't seen on the field in a couple weeks, a month, years. So realistically, I don't think it would be beneficial to them because first you have to plan this, and second of all, who's going to be watching games from the East on the West Coast? Because that's the plan. You have the National League would be playing in Texas, more in where the Rangers play, and I think the East is going to be in San Diego. So honestly, you can't go into a season without a plan. So if you're thinking of these stuff last minute as it goes, especially with all these COVID rules, especially with the playoffs being in 20 games, 2 weeks less into the season, you still don't even know what you're going to be doing for the playoffs. And
isn't it great?
Even if you have home field advantage, even if you play at Yankee Stadium or if you play where the Rays play for home field advantage, there is no home field advantage. There's no fans whatsoever. So honestly, I think it's a bad idea.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. That's totally fair. I think
look at NBA and look at the NBA and the NHL. They came up with their plan before MLB did. They came up with it a month or 2 months in advance, and they had their format. They had what their protocols were going to be. They basically described they're going to be playing hubs. They're going to be going to their hotel room and back, and they're going to be tested daily. MLB had daily tests every single day, and some were not even some were fake positive tests. So what happens if you send the team all the way to California? You don't think they're going to want to go out? You don't think I doubt you're going to be able to keep them in one bubble.
Well, to that point, I mean, the NFL not the NFL, the NBA and the NHL playoffs have gone pretty smoothly so far. We haven't had anyone test positive, right? So, I mean, that's a plus. And I think you do get some kind of home field advantage if you play in home stadiums, because at least you get to sleep in your own bed. You know, you get to sit at home. You don't have to worry about living out of a hotel or anything like that. But you know, you're not going to have fans, so there isn't a true home field advantage in that regard. So I don't know. For me, I think that they should definitely do the bubble for the playoffs. And the reason being is that we've seen so far throughout the MLB season, you know, teams get shut down for a week or two here and there when players test positive. We can't have that going on during the playoffs. You can't. A team can't miss a week of games. You know, it's just not. It's not possible. You can't do that. So
and
what are we going to do?
That need to be made up.
Yeah, are they going to make them up, or are they just going to forfeit? Like at that point, it's not fair. So I feel like you have to do the bubble to prevent teams from, contracting the virus, so that you don't have to shut anything down. It's the only way it's going to work. And plus,
And it
it's not
honestly would have
that
been
big.
better if you did it from the beginning in July.
Oh, absolutely. I was saying that before the season started, but at this point, since the playoffs are so important, like, at least we've been able to get through the season pretty well. We haven't had that many hiccups. We've had a few teams test positive here and there, but they've been shut down for a week or two at that time. And we can't do that during the playoffs. So the only way to have a full playoff and, have every team, be on the same level and not have to worry about getting disqualified or anything like that, the only way to do that is through the bubble.
So honestly, with the bubble, I'm all for having the bubble for sports, but it can't be a last minute thing. You can't send a bunch of teams all the way to California last minute and then be like,
That's
okay,
fair.
you land in San Diego and you play tomorrow. You play tomorrow morning, because it's going to be it also deals with the fact of how many stadiums are you going to be using at the same time. Are you only playing in San Diego, or are you going to be playing in Los Angeles and where the Angels play? So I know with Texas, you have where the Rangers play, but our team's going to be playing in Houston as well. So you have to also put that in. You have to also picture that thing. So
it's true. I mean, there are definitely obstacles, but I think they need to get it done. They need to figure it out, because there's no way they're going to get through the playoffs without someone testing positive if they don't do the bubble. So it's going to have to be like the NBA, where they shut everyone down. Everyone's got to stay in the hotel. They have, catering, all of that. It's within the hotel. Like that. There's the only way that it's going to work. Only way.
So honestly, that's why you have to plan ahead. Rob Manfred, do us all a favor.
Great, but we're past that now, Para. Okay.
But Rob needs to handle situations better. You can't just come
I agree. Don't get me wrong.
As teams were testing positive for coronavirus, Rob Manfred was coming up with protocols left and right. Like, honestly, you don't come up with this stuff before you plan the season with the Players Association? Like, honestly, you don't think of these things? You don't think they're going to have any hiccups? Like, honestly, I'm really interested to see how the NFL season is going to play out, because everybody's excited football's coming back this week. But it'll be interesting to see how, because they're going to be doing the same situation as MLB. They're going to be doing the daily testing, everything, but there's not going to be bubbles that every team's going to go to a hotel or they're going to go home right after a game. So I'm honestly interested to see what MLB does. But honestly, at this rate, you can't come up with a bubble situation 2 weeks left before the season is almost over. So
we'll see.
Rob Manfred, please just show some type of strength of how to help this league, because you're struggling. Like, honestly, I can't even think of words what to say to Rob Manfred right now, because it's sad. We're 2 weeks left into the season. The Yankees are struggling. We're all upset about that. But not only that, but the league. Look at the Cardinals. They won one place after the bubble. Not even the bubble, right after a game. They missed 2 weeks of baseball. Mm-hmm. They were 12-13 at one point after they didn't even play any games, and they were still in second place. So enough with the 7-inning doubleheaders. Enough with the injuries. Come up with a better plan, Rob. And Tony Clark, this is for you as well. This is for you as well.
Yeah, you keep preaching, but it's not going to happen.
We'll see. We have 2 weeks left. It's going to be an interesting 2 weeks for baseball. I can tell you that.
Yep. So I think that about wraps it up for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us. Again, we are the Chicken Bucket Boys, powered by PTX Media and Unhinged Media. And we will see you guys soon.